Welcome to episode 21 of the Endless Stream podcast. I'm Aidan and I'm here with Kevin and Brian as usual. Each week we take some of the endless stream of content delivered to you through Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+, Hulu, YouTube, Spotify. Wherever you get your content, we're going to take a chunk of it, we're going to watch it, we're going to talk about it. Given the nature of these conversations, they are very spoiler heavy. So if you have not seen the new Suicide Squad movie, go and have a look at it and then come back and listen to the podcast because we're going to go through that up and down. We also talk about Mythic Quest on Apple TV, and I think Clint Eastwood pops up at a certain point as well. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast and head over to Instagram and give us a follow. Over on Instagram, at The Endless Cast, we are currently running a competition. When we reach 150 followers, we are giving away an A4 character bust commission of your choice. You name the character, I'll draw the character for you. Once we reach 150 followers, the winner will be chosen from that set at random. If you'd like to comment on anything that's said on the podcast, if you'd like to send us a recording or an email, you can do that at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the conversation. Well, let's start the podcast with something all important that we haven't done in a little bit. Kev, contentment check?
Oh yes, back on form.
Glad to hear it.
Back on it. Yep, I have been experiencing outdoor events such as hiking and walking. I did have to do a poo in the woods.
Well, we've answered, does a bear shit in the woods?
Yeah, yes, they do. It was awful. It was really bad. It was on Sunday. It was like a really hot day. We went for a big hike with Eber's family.
You know we put this on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. What? People don't take shits in the woods? I had to take a shit in the wood just last week. Oh, it was awful. I was with our family, we were hiking, and I thought at first I was just really hungry, and then it turned into like a pain, and I was just like, is it a stitch? Am I overheating? And Eber's just like, you're just not really used to walking around and stuff, which is a lie because like I'm 33, I've walked around. But yeah, it was just... Oh god! And then I thought like if I peed it might relieve the pain, and then I peed and it just made things worse, and then I just had to be like, yeah.
So you've been watching the Marvel movies with your girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
How far are you in on those?
Spider-Man. We're up to date on Spider-Man.
What comes before Spider-Man Homecoming?
Civil War.
Black Widow.
Black Widow, yeah.
So you've watched Civil War, you enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
You watched Black Widow, you enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
And this was your second time seeing Spider-Man Homecoming?
Maybe second or third time. I you know what? I just love those movies.
Cool.
You know?
And Emer's first time seeing it though, yeah?
I think Emer had seen some of it before.
How did she find it?
It's kind of funny because, well, she did like it, but it's kind of funny because I don't know, Aidan, if you actually remember, we went to see this in the cinema together with my buddy Mark.
Yes. Yeah.
And his bicycle was stolen.
That's what I was about to say. His bike got stolen when we came out. Yeah.
Yeah. Good old Dublin. But but I was gonna say I remember, you know, the scene in obviously Spider-Man Homecoming or whatever it is. It's Homecoming, right? Yeah, it is Homecoming.
Yeah.
And it's like where he goes to pick up Liz and he realizes that it's the Vulture's daughter. You know. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had saw it coming or something. I think you had seen it coming for sure, obviously.
I didn't. I didn't see it coming at all. I was amazed by the fucking... Like... I was amazed that I didn't see it coming. And I thought it was a great testament to how successful the film had been that I had stopped thinking and stopped trying to predict things.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how they were going to encounter each other. I
think I literally just... like. As he was putting up, I was like, "Oh my god, it's gonna be the Vulture's daughter or something," you know. And but like that was kind of fine. But I just remember when we went to see it, him answering the door and Mark beside me just going, like an
audibly
actual,
gasped.
Yeah, like it was just so funny. It completely took because obviously Mark was super engrossed, and like not in a bad way, but it completely took me out of the moment because it was just the funniest thing. But then when I was watching it with Emer was just like, I've seen this before. She's definitely seen this. She's like, I've definitely seen this before. I've seen this before. And then like literally she said that, and then 2 minutes later, that's shocking. That's shocking. I just burst out laughing. I was just like, how is this shocking second time round? She's like, I know, I knew it was, but I totally forgot or something. But it's gas how that actually really gets people. But it's so good, you know. And
It's so successfully done because like you go to her house previously and don't meet her parents. There's a party at her house beforehand, right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I don't know if they intentionally did that, but it's set up. My expectation was I can go to Liz's house and not see a parent. I can just see her and move forward. Not that I was consciously thinking this when it was going on, but like I didn't necessarily think I was going to see Liz's parents at the house. So when the door opened and it was Michael Keaton, I was like, oh God, yeah, he's been talking about his kid the entire time.
Yes, it was very well done, I think. Tom Holland, when like I'm still listening to that Marvelous Life of Stan Lee. It's really, really fascinating. I do recommend it. It's awesome. But yeah, just listen to that or whatever, you get a feel for like the kind of the vibe and like kind of why Spider-Man was so fresh when he came out, you know, and like his different issues, and he wasn't this like muscle bound, blue eye, blonde hair, chiseled chin, 6 foot plus guy, you know, the kind of way. But when you watch it, it's just like Tom Holland is actually a really, really good Peter Parker Spider-Man. He is really good. Even that scene where he's crushed and he's just like, yeah, it's like, you can do the Spider-Man, or like, it's like, yeah, so you got the Spider-Man, or you can do a Spider-Man, whatever. But it's just like, oh yeah, it's like he's even trying to take himself out of this. That it's not Peter Parker, it's Spider-Man, and Spider-Man can do this. You know, Peter Parker couldn't, but Spider-Man can. You know, but it's just I think he does a great job as Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
What do you think then of the?
I would say one of my favorites in the MCU.
I'm living on the internet, so I feel like I talk about things as if they're common knowledge or everybody's in the same mindset as me. So I just want to couch things a little better. But like, there's a lot of like, when are we getting the No Way Home trailer? When are we getting the No Way Home trailer? What do you think of the idea? I saw somebody saying that like maybe they don't do a trailer, they just put the movie out. People will go.
Not going to happen.
But that's not going to happen. No, it's too much of a risk. Money.
You think
money
it's
is
a
cash.
risk?
Cash is king. Yeah.
But because they spend money to market it.
But you got to spend money to make money. You know what I mean? Welcome to my TED Talk.
Do you think the trailers will make people that wouldn't have seen a Spider-Man movie go and see a Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And like, you know, just there's going to be people like you know, could be somebody they're a huge Spider-Man fan could turn around to their partner and say like, oh, like, you know, maybe he's not into it or whatever, you know, and it's just like, yeah, hey, like, let's go see Spider-Man. They're like, no, I don't want to. Okay, like, show me a trailer, and then there's no trailer to show them. They're like, nah, I'm off.
Spider-Man's November?
No, I don't think it's
December.
coming out this year, is it?
Supposed to be December, I think.
It's supposed to be December, but yeah, it seems like they're waiting because we've seen nothing yet, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you think they're holding off to see whether or not they push the release?
Yeah, like if any of the rumors we're hearing are even slightly true, this is going to be a bonkers film. It's going to be an event, and it'd be like dropping Endgame during a pandemic. There's no way you'd be like, no, fuck it, we're waiting until things return to something more normal. Because like we know Melina's in it, and we know Jamie Foxx is in it, and the rumors are Maguire and Garfield are in it,
and even Matthew Cox.
Supposedly Dunst is in it. Yeah. So this is a big event picture. It's not just another Spider-Man film. It's kind of on a par with something like Infinity War or Endgame, except it's also combining two previous kind of installments of the characters. So yeah, like if cinemas aren't open again, if this thing doesn't have the chance to make $1 billion, if they've gone to the trouble of getting Holland or like Garfield and Maguire, they want this thing to make $1 billion.
And Fox and Dunst and who's
Daredevil.
Yeah, supposedly Cox is in it as well. Yeah. Like if any of that is true, then they're looking to make $1 billion with this, and they're not going to release it until cinemas are open again.
But Spider-Man was like the team of guy of the 90s, right? So like any number of superheroes could be in this.
I would say as well,
we know Doctor Strange is in it. So.
Yeah. And that hot toy that we're seeing with Spider-Man wearing Doctor Strange's cape, is that tied to No Way Home, or is that just them doing some random concept art shit?
I think it's No Way Home. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
it's called like Zombie Catcher Spider-Man or something.
Did someone say? Did someone say it could be a what if thing?
Yeah, or it could be What If related, but I think it's more film related. But there's also people saying that pretty soon we're going to see characters introduced in What If are actually going to appear in
MCU
in a film in live action as
I
well.
mean,
Yeah,
that's all good with that. Like, I think, to be honest, I think Marvel is just let them run with it. They're not afraid to take risks, and most of the time it kind of pays off, you know, to a good degree, you know.
Do you think they take risks?
Yes, I would have said
I think they do.
yes.
Yeah.
I would have said Guardians of the Galaxy, big risk.
Yeah. It's just when it comes out and when it's a success, it looks like it's, you know,
Orchestrated,
fitting the
yeah.
mold. But there's a lot of stuff before we get to see it. Thor was a risk.
Yes, Thor was a risk. Yeah,
Captain America was a risk.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah. I think they do take risks, to be honest. And I think like it's kind of like it's one of like again, obviously I said like I'm just listening to this book and stuff like that. Like, but I think it's one of those things that Marvel kind of was good at. It's like kind of, I know it's not underestimating their fans or their fans. Like devotion, passion, intelligence, whatever, you know. And I think that's allowing Marvel, because they're aware of it and they've always been aware of it, and they're carrying that spirit into the MCU movie wise. I think that's they're taking risks and it's working out for them because they respect their fans. They don't think that these are just kids movies that generate millions. They're also like where there's a legion of fans here who will respect us as we respect them almost, you know.
Yeah, like was it Schumacher used to like say, "Remember, guys, we're making a comic book movie," and before every take, you know, like this is for kids kind of vibe.
Yes, yeah. Don't take it too seriously. Awful, isn't it?
It's just a different mindset. They just didn't quite see what it could be. What I was going to say was, I think for anybody with the Marvel Unlimited app or access to comic books, I would say go and dig out a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 500, and I think you're going to see a lot of the visuals or a lot of the themes that you're going to see in No Way Home, because that has a very strong Doctor Strange element, a very strong travel through the life of Spider-Man.
Okay, I'm going to check that out.
I don't know if it begins in 499, but I remember 500 being like, I took artwork from that and I like printed it on t-shirts and comic book, or like I used to work in a shop that like made, you could print anything on anything. I was like, I'm taking this drawing and I'm putting it on a cup, you know. I walked around with that cup for a while.
I'm gonna have to make my own stuff like that.
That issue was cool because it's about it gets into like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and he gets astral projected through a timeline, and he gets stuck and has to fight his way through key moments in his existence, sort of occupying the body of that moment and reliving these things. And in many ways it's a clip show comic book for issue 500, but like it shoots way off into the death of Spider-Man. And I've seen some concept art where they like do up Tobey Maguire in that outfit from that moment. And it's like, oh, that could be a cool angle of where we see an older Spider-Man standing over the grave of, I think, Mary Jane and Gwen, and like standing over everyone's grave and whatever's gone wrong in this world.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that book is floating around in the ether a little bit around this movie as well, and I'm curious to see what gets drawn into it from it. That's my notion. While we're still on comic books, there was a trailer for Y: The Last Man. Did you guys ever read that?
I haven't, but I've always wanted to.
I read a good bit of it, yeah, a long time ago. But yeah, I read quite a few kind of trade paperbacks, but I don't know how it ends. But
neither do I. Like, I read a bunch of it as well, and it's like there's a lot of like, you know, kind of preachery, Walking Dead-ish sort of road trip across America to sort of see what's caused this. The pitch of the book is that at a certain time on, like, you see a little countdown clock, 10, 9, 8, 7, and then every man on planet Earth drops dead. Every male drops dead, and the only guy left is this guy Yorick, and he's got a monkey, and he becomes this kind of, I don't know, antibody patient zero, I guess. They're trying to work out why he's not sick and work out what caused this, and the world is in disrepair because, so many people that worked in so many places are just gone, like airplanes crashing out of the sky. The movie's got Diane Lane, or the TV series is like an FX thing, and it's coming in, I think, September, October. There's a trailer up now. It looks cool. Like, it looks like they're doing it. Do you know what I mean? They've been talking about doing it for a long time at this point. Diane Lane features. I don't recognize a lot of the rest of the cast. I see Missy Pyle there. She's been around forever. She's great. I don't know if you remember Missy Pyle, comic actress, pops up in lots of stuff. If you remember Dodgeball, the Russian,
Yes.
the Russian
Oh,
one,
yes.
the small guy
Yeah.
wants to hook up with, and all the makeup. That's Missy Pyle.
She's
Which
great.
is like, which of all the roles she's done, I picked the one where she's wearing buck teeth and fucking staring wall-eyed at things. But she's
Yes,
been in
but
loads of stuff.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, she's a real hard-working actor.
And Olivia Thirlby, who was in Dread, was the other agent in Dread. Will you be watching it?
Who's playing Yorick?
A fella called Ben Schnetzer.
Oh God, not with a name
Right.
like that.
Schnetzer? You're not into Schnetzer? Ben Schnetzer is...
For a long time, it was supposed to be a film with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, I remember that. Was he sort of like executive producing for a bit?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Is there anything you looked at this week, Brian, that you want to talk about?
I watched The Summer of Soul on Disney+.
Tell us about that.
It's produced, directed by Questlove. It's about a festival that took place in Harlem the same time that Woodstock was happening. Something like 300,000 people in Harlem at a festival. Stevie Wonder was there, Sly and the Family Stone. Everybody was there, and they filmed all of this. And so many people don't even know the thing happened. There's all this kind of...
I definitely don't.
Yeah. And the kind of talking about it, they were saying that, they've heard that there was this festival. Like, did it actually happen? And supposedly the whole thing was filmed, and basically all the footage of it has been sitting in storage for 50 years.
Jesus.
So people had mentioned it to Questlove a couple of times, and basically he kind of, over a number of years, tracked it down and basically made this film so people could see it, essentially. And it's pretty cool. It's amazing to see, I'm a huge Stevie Wonder and Sly and the Family Stone fan. So, yeah, check it out.
And it's Disney Plus. How did it get to Disney Plus? Is it Stars or something else? ABC?
No.
I always find it weird what's under the Disney banner these days,
Yes, yeah.
Well, I mean, it only came out this year, so I don't know what Questlove's, production distribution deal was, but it was acquired by Disney Plus, I guess. Not a lot to say about it. Like, it's a funk and soul festival in Harlem in 1969 that all the names in funk and soul played at. But most people didn't even know the thing happened or took place. But you get to watch it, see it. And there's some 300,000 people is insane.
Because I mean, my head goes, well, you don't know every gig that happens. And then I go, well, 300,000 people in the middle of fucking New York.
It's happening. Like, I think there's some like 100 miles away from where Woodstock was happening that this was going on as well. And just as big culturally as, I mean, it should be as big culturally as Woodstock is, and it's just been lost. Well, I mean, it's been rediscovered now, but yeah, it's great to see as well. Like, I think they were saying at one point, it was 1969, so Sly and the Family Stone didn't yet have the biggest following.
Right.
So when they come out on stage at first, the audience don't really know what to expect. The band, they're still tuning the instruments. There's two white guys in the band. There's a woman playing the trumpet, and people are kind of like going, "What's this?" And then they just start, and it's amazing.
Okay.
Woodstock had 400,000 people at attendance.
And Sly and the Family Stone actually played Woodstock as well, and like the set they did there was phenomenal. Also, it's just interesting that this is happening in the same week or whatever. But Yeah.
Some reason Woodstock has the...
Well, do you think it was because the hippie movement was more popular?
I would argue it's more to do with who controlled the media in the 60s.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Fair. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I did see a thing recently about they did a Woodstock like 20 years ago or something, and it was huge and stuff. But like there was like problems with like I think problems with sewerage, and essentially where everybody thought they were playing in wet mud, they were actually just playing in feces. And it was just tons and tons of people playing in
I was
feces.
sitting here kind of... I half thought to myself, is there some way the concept of an overcrowded festival is going to bring Kevin back to shitting in public?
Yeah, I didn't shit in public. I didn't shit in public. I shat in the woods. It's very different. And then my girlfriend's mum sprayed hand sanitizer all over my hands. I just had to stand there with my hands up while she sprayed hand sanitizer on them.
How...
Thank you.
Asking follow-up questions. How did you wipe?
Oh, Emer had tissue with her. Yeah, actually more than enough as well. So that was a lucky coincidence.
That's your high fiber diet.
Oh man, let me tell you, it was like a tub of ice cream that had like been left out in the sun for an hour. It wasn't great. 2 big old loads of it there. I felt bad for nature, but it's natural. You know, I'm sure animals will feed off of it or something.
Summer of Love, Disney Plus. Check it out.
Summer of Soul, I think.
Excellent.
I think you mean
Soul.
that.
God damn it.
But yeah, poop.
Okay, moving on.
Aiden, I want to tell you that it's going to be okay, but
I don't know that it
can't.
is.
Have you never?
I'm about to talk about Clint Eastwood and cry macho, and he's gone a long drive across country, and that's just as valid a conversation about how did he go to the bathroom driving across Mexico.
There's going to be more. It's going to circle back.
I think he can bring us back there.
He probably wore a diaper like that crazy NASA lady. That crazy NASA lady who drove across America to try to kill somebody. She wore a diaper because she didn't want to stop, and she just shot herself the whole time.
So Clint Eastwood is 91 years old, and I thought
he's probably
after
wearing diapers already.
I thought after Gran Torino he kind of retired from acting, but like he made the Mule.
Gran Turdino.
Turdino. I'm telling you, there was a couple of grand turds in that forest last week. Actually, they were awful. They were hot messes. Flies were everywhere.
Hot snakes?
Everywhere. No, not even, Brian. It's like puddles of mud.
Why?
Clint Eastwood is 90 plus and is acting again.
Clint Eastwood, it's not just that he's acting, he's 91 years old and he is directing this thing and starring in it, which is astounding. But then at the same time, I do remember 20 years ago seeing pictures of him on the beach in his 80s. It can't be 20 years ago then.
70s.
His 70s. With his like 105-year-old mother taking a walk on the beach. The two of them. It's like, I think Clint Eastwood's going to be around forever.
Clint Eastwood made his directorial debut with Unforgiven in the early 90s, which when he was 60. Nope. So, wasn't it?
Unforgiven wasn't his... Was it? No,
directorial debut. I thought it was.
He definitely won a... it was an Oscar winner, but hold on, let me just double check that, because like...
Kevin gets to slap you in the face if he's right.
Yep.
I mean... As long
I'll
as
take
a great deal of hand sanitizer.
Oh, I didn't have to. My girlfriend's mother did it. I just had to be like, yeah, that happened. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not proud of it either, but you just have to own it, don't you? You can't really be shy about it or embarrassed. It's the poop in the woods.
Everybody poops.
Everybody poops.
Director. So what did you say? He made his directorial debut?
Yeah, I thought he made his directorial debut with Unforgiven.
So in 1971, directed Play Misty for Me, then High Plains Drifter, then Breezy, then the Eiger Sanction, then the Outlaw Josie Wells.
I like the Eiger Sanction.
Billy, then Firefox, then Honky Tonk, then Sudden Impact. Pale Rider, Heartbreak Ridge, Bird, White Hunter, Black Heart, The Rookie, then Unforgiven.
So I was right.
Have you seen the Eiger Sanction?
Yes.
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's wild.
Kev, how can you like that film?
It's
Oh, well, look,
problematic.
hold on.
Or
Now we know what
am I
we're
thinking
watching
of-
next week.
Or am I thinking of the Pelican Brief?
Is it the one about the guy going up the mountain to kill a guy?
Are you thinking about the Ipcress file?
Wait, what?
Eiger Sanction is fucked up.
What's the Eiger Sanction?
Classic art professor and collector Jonathan Hemlock, who doubles as a professional assassin, is coerced out of retirement to avenge the murder of an old friend.
Why is that fucked up?
The stuff that happens that's said in it is... I'm not even going to say it on this because I'd get immediately cancelled.
Okay, we're watching the Eiger Sanction for next week.
It used to be on Netflix. Pete actually watched it years ago on Netflix. He came across it and he told me about it and he was like, watch it. It's fucking insane, the stuff that they say and do in it. And
Okay, no.
it's wild.
Isn't that one that's like an espionage movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's about a professional assassin. So
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've seen. I don't know if I've seen it.
Tell me what you tell us what you're thinking of. Give us any beats or further information of the movie you're thinking
I
about.
thought there was a movie in the 70s that was like an espionage movie, and it was like, yeah, like all these kind of different people coming in, like crossing paths and stuff, but something to do with a file. Like,
I think that's the Ipcress file with Michael Caine.
I'm going to Google it.
Kev, you'd remember this film
Would I?
because of the bonkers stuff that is said in it. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe I didn't remember. What's the one you said?
The Ipcress file, I think, is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's a Harry. God, what's the name of the character? He's kind of a kind of a sort of anti-James Bond. You know, it's a spy who is tied up in bureaucracy. I love that film. I think it's great. It's Harry Palmer.
To be honest, neither one of them sound familiar, so I don't know what I'm thinking of.
Okay, there is a scene in the Ipcress file, and it is 1970. 1965. There is a scene in it where Michael Caine's Harry Palmer meets another espionage agent, and the two of them are pushing the tiniest shopping trolleys you've ever seen, walking around a supermarket. And a lot of the conversation is about this ridiculous American form of shopping they're doing, where they push a little trolley around and put things in their own baskets. Because up to that point, you went to your butchers, you went to your bakers, you went to you went to different shops and you asked the guy for a thing and he put it in a bag for you. And they're pushing these ludicrous tiny trolleys around, doing their American style shopping. And it's such a funny little like cultural relic.
I sent you a clip of Eiger Sanction just now.
Do I play it in the podcast?
Do not play it on the podcast. Maybe watch it, and then cut to 2 minutes afterwards and you can react to it, but do not play it on the podcast.
2 minutes later.
Okay, let's cut that out of the podcast. That is not the movie I saw.
I didn't think so. Yeah. Not that anyway.
Not that one.
Okay, so we will not be talking about the Eiger Sanction next week. I feel like
No.
we've talked about it this week. At your own
Don't.
At your own risk, go and watch the Eiger Sanction. It's it's of its time. It does seem like Clint Eastwood was trying to get every fucking slur out of his.
That was horrible.
Holy
I hated
moly.
watching that. That was horrific. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
You can say it's reflected of the times, but that's usually that makes me hugely uncomfortable.
I didn't think it was going to get worse than Kev shitting in the woods.
You know, there's worse thing than shit in the woods.
Cry Macho, 91 years old.
Speed Racer, not so bad.
Kevin likes Speed Racer. Took
In
21
comparison,
episodes.
in comparison.
Yeah, oh god, like it makes everything I wanted to sort of say after the fact kind of hard to do.
Yeah, I kind of feel sad now.
I'm a lifelong fan of Clint Eastwood. I've enjoyed the majority of his work. I think the fact that his career has started in the 60s and people don't notice that he's kind of been directing films since 1970. And like, it kind of goes back to a thing I've said a few times here, that like the people that seem to last are the ones that start making their own work.
Same goes for comic books, I think.
Yeah. Like if you're just hoping a project's going to come along that'll be right for you, You know, especially if you get the bit of traction of being successful and famous, then, you know, it behooves you to start. Like Margot Robbie's a great example of it. I keep going back to, because right as her career was starting, there were a handful of other starlets that were being pushed just as hard, but Margot Robbie's really taken control of finding great roles for herself and pushing for good projects.
Yeah, but she's crazy talented as well, which kind of helps.
I mean, I don't deny that, but like often talent gets invoked to like undermine the concept of all the work that went into it. So crazy talented and crazy hardworking. But that same thing with Eastwood. I love that he's still making movies. I love that he famously he casts well, he chooses projects well, except for the Eiger Sanction, it seems. He casts well, plans clearly, comes in under time and under budget kind of every time. So he's just been let work. Coming soon.
Shame about his personal politics, though.
This is true, yeah. Separate the art from the artist if you can, but it's hard.
I don't think you can.
I find it very difficult too.
Like, at least for the most part, you don't hear him politicking. Does that make any sense?
He probably can't really use the internet.
Until he spoke to an empty chair at that time.
Yeah, and I think he learned his goddamn lesson, you know?
I think so, yeah. I don't think he gave a shit, to be honest.
Yeah. I think he got a lot of positive attention when he campaigned for Barack Obama. And when he did that chair talk was him swinging back to the Republican Party. And I think the positive effect that he got the last time, he expected again and found that he didn't get it. So he moved the fuck on. He's like, yep, let's not do that again. Sure, do you remember there was his wife at the time wanted to do a reality show about their family in the same way the Kardashians were, and he was sort of walked through a living room every so often with a camera going, you know, like the Eastwoods
awful.
Meet Mrs. Eastwood and Meet the Eastwoods. And
Gran Torino.gif.
I guess I'm going to just blow through the rest of these trailers because I always have the ones I want to talk about and then a few off ones. Like, I watched the trailer for He's All That, which is the spiritual sequel to She's All That from 1999. It actually has Rachel Lee Cook in it. It has Matthew Lillard. I would be surprised if Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't make a cameo at some point. I'd be very surprised if Paul Walker did make a cameo, because he did.
He been dead.
It's got this guy. It's got this guy in it from Cobra Kai, and it's a Netflix film. And I can kind of see, right, this clearly someone's connected, you know, nostalgia classics with this actor in Cobra Kai. Netflix's algorithm puts him in a movie, you know.
My favorite thing Rachel Lee Cook ever did was a music video for a band that I didn't even like. But
what was the music video?
I don't know. It was for some emo band that I didn't like, but it's Brand New Glory. Is that a band?
Newfound Glory?
Newfound Glory, maybe? I don't know.
We'll go to our emo corner. Kev, can you tell us about Newfound Glory?
Newfound Glory aren't emo, they're punk. Brand New would kind of be emo-y, yeah, but I don't listen to them anymore, which is really kind of a bummer because I really like the music, but the lead singer was a creepazoid.
Yeah, it's the one with the lead singer. Yeah, I think it's that band that she was in the music video for.
What was her name? Rachel Lee Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josie of the Pussycats fame. And Carpool with Sinbad. Anyone ever seen
I've not seen
Carpool?
any of that. Josie and the Pussycats. Newfound Glory. Okay, it's Newfound Glory maybe, Brian. I don't know anything about that, to be honest.
Is that what I said? Did I say
Yes.
Brand New Glory?
You said Brand New
What did
Glory.
I say?
I said, no, you said Brand New Glory, but I said there's Newfound Glory and there's Brand New. They're both different.
Aha, okay.
Thank you for this week on Emo Corner.
The episode title this week is Does Kev Shit in the Woods, right?
Nah, everybody knows at this stage. It's been a week. You don't think everybody, all my friends and family know. It's the only way I can deal with my shame. I told customers.
I'd love to see somebody's reaction when, you know, they're pinned, they can't move, you're holding their arm, they're getting tattooed. You say, by the way, I shit in the woods and I wiped with these hands.
I was wearing gloves, not at the time.
There's
when I
no
tattooed.
escape.
At first I thought I was hungry, but then a warm feeling passed through me. I thought if I peed it would release some of the pressure.
I was really sick. I was getting like the shivers, the cold sweats. I could really just I was like, this is rough.
So this kid from Cobra Kai, his name is Tanner Buchanan, and
Wow.
if I was making an SNL comedy white person, his name would be Tanner Buchanan.
Yes.
Holy God. But
Yeah.
the kid is kind of the spit of Ryder Strong from Boy Meets World. Do you remember him?
No.
Do you remember Sean from Boy Meets World? He had the hair.
Channels, pal. Is this the guy who's been cast as Blue Beetle, or is in talks to play Blue Beetle in DC?
No, I would say that's the other. I would say that's the Hispanic kid in Cobra Kai. If I had to guess, because the Blue Beetle is the one that's sort of the Blue Beetle that people want to develop these days is not Ted Kord.
Yeah, I said I don't really follow DC.
Yeah, like I was one of the earliest comic books I bought from Pat Ferry at the comic book stall at Dunleary Market in 1994. Would have been
Shout out to Pat.
Shout out to Pat, who has unfortunately passed on.
God bless him.
He opened a comic book shop in Dunleary Shopping Centre called Wow Comics. Most of South County Dublin will have bought comics. Most of comic buying South County Dublin will have bought comics from Wow Comics at one point. 4 for £1, Blue Beetles in a little baggie. And I got Blue Devils as well. I went on a blue streak. So I have a real soft spot for the Blue Beetle and the Blue Devil because they're some of the first comics that I bought with my own money when I was like 9 years old.
You're also a Booster Gold fan, aren't you?
Not so much. But Booster got sort of tied in with Blue Beetle a little bit later, and I wasn't buying new comics at that point. Like this guy was selling out of long boxes in a market before he got into it.
I think there's a great Blue Beetle film to be made. It'll be very much like Spider-Man and Iron Man kind of relationship if they go the Ted Kord kind of route. But I think there's a really good film to be made there.
Isn't Blue Beetle like he gets an alien suit or something?
Well, this is the thing. It's a little Moon Knighty in that they've really tried to make this character work a number of times, and the one that's got the most traction now is the alien suit. The earliest version of the Blue Beetle that I know, and I've never read any of these ones, is real Golden Age stuff where a guy finds a mystical Egyptian scarab object that he wears on a belt that gives him superpowers. And as they retconned that into the sort of 60s Silver Age stuff, 70s Silver Age stuff, Ted Kord was there at the last battle of this guy, and he promised him that he would carry on the name of the Blue Beetle, but he didn't get the magic scarab. It got lost with him. So Ted used his money to kind of Batman it, the billionaire version of the Blue Beetle. And that is very much Owlman from Watchmen as well, the flying vehicle. Like the Blue Beetle, is he Owlman?
Night Owl.
Night Owl, like by the time Zack Snyder got his hands on him, he kind of became a Batman variant, but like he was coming off of the Carlton comic books that Alan Moore was,
because Snyder doesn't understand the books.
Because Alan Moore was retconning a whole bunch of like Carlton comics stuff, and that was where the Question and the Blue Beetle were before they got reacquired by DC. But yeah, he became very much a kind of Batman version. And then a few years back, they had the Scarab thing retconned as a piece of alien technology that has an AI in it and becomes a suit and is very adaptive. And that's the one that seems to be very popular and connected well. And they've brought him into cartoons and stuff. So I think that's probably the guy from Cobra Kai, if they're going to use him, would be playing. How did we get all there from He's All That?
But Blue Beetle looks cool. Cobra Kai. Blue Beetle. Or what are you interested in casting Blue Beetle?
Anyway, I would be, I suppose, more interested in the Blue Beetle than He's All That. Mary Elizabeth Winstead's in a movie from Netflix called Kate. It looks like Crank. She's a hitman, gets poisoned, 90 minutes to avenge herself by the looks of it.
Did we not just talk about this movie last week?
No.
No.
So Jolt is a different thing.
Yes.
They're very similar.
There's no timeline on that, but it is a woman with rage issues who can beat the shit out of people and has an electric vest to electrocute herself. But I think I don't see enough Mary Elizabeth Winstead either, so it's cool to see her getting
Was she in Scott Pilgrim and stuff?
Yeah.
And she was
Birds
the
of
Huntress
Prey,
in
Scott
Birds of Prey.
Pilgrim.
She was a Huntress, right? Yeah. Awesome. She's great. Yeah, it's a pity she's not in more stuff.
She's really good in, I think it's season 2 of Fargo. Was it season 2? Season 3 of Fargo.
Season 3, maybe, yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
She was in Death Proof, I believe, the Tarantino movie.
Was she?
Yeah.
Did y'all watched Birds of Prey, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tried to. Oh, I saw about half of it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a struggle.
It's kind of a struggle, isn't it? I watched it, but it's just like that. Look, that's a perfect jumping off point to what is the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which is we all went and saw the Suicide Squad, or in Kev's case, the potatoes and other vegetables.
Explain that.
Do you want to try that one again, or just want to leave it?
Well,
I got it.
I mean, I don't think it needs further explanation.
Yeah. No.
It did occur to me when we were talking about the Summer of Love, Summer of Soul thing that you just said Questlove as if everyone knows who Questlove is. Does everyone know who Questlove is?
I don't.
Did I say that? Did I say that?
Well, you just said Questlove went and found this documentary or has released this documentary. And it's like, do people know who Questlove is?
I'd imagine anybody listening to us knows who he is.
Because you've all got taste. We love you guys.
I don't. I'm literally one of the people on the podcast who don't know who Questlove is.
Sorry,
you don't know who Questlove is?
No.
Yeah.
Why didn't you ask when I was talking about this?
Because I was trying to listen to you, Brian.
Jesus Christ.
What's the potato and vegetable thing?
Your
Vegan.
meat and potatoes wouldn't be the main subject of your meal. So the analogy didn't work for somebody like yourself who eats like a
vegan based
prey animal.
Okay.
Questlove is the drummer of The Roots. They're Jimmy Fallon's
Oh yes,
house band.
Yes, you've talked about him before. Yes,
but
or them.
They're so much more than that.
Yes.
Questlove is cool. The Roots cool. Questlove's very cool.
Yes, I do actually. Yes, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah. That's Questlove.
Okay.
One of my abiding memories of Questlove is I went to see the Roots in the Olympia. Were you there, Brian?
No.
It was a college thing. I definitely went. Get the Kieran and Louise were. And we rolled into the Temple Bar Music Centre after the fact because Questlove was DJing. And, you know, dancing, evening going on, whatever the hell else. And for some reason, some bloke decided to compliment me on my fro. Like, my hair looked like this. And he said, I dig your fro. And I'm like, I'm in a room with Questlove. And you're looking at my hair complimenting a fro. Are you okay? Like, it was the weirdest exchange.
Was he making fun of you?
I think he was just out of his fucking brain.
I was going to say, someone sounds like they were just in the moment, caught up in everything, probably on a lot of drugs, and thought you looked like Sideshow Bob.
I mean, you didn't have to bring it to Sideshow Bob.
Suicide Squad.
You look like the lion from The Wizard of Oz.
Is that better? I mean, he's a great actor. Suicide Squad.
That's objectively better.
Okay. Yeah, then Sideshow Bob, I suppose it is. Cowardly Lion, though. Suicide Squad.
Not by the end.
True, he did get a medal.
I was talking
Suicide
about a different
Squad.
lion.
Put him up. Put him up.
Yeah.
Apparently they used a real lion skin for that. For his costume.
That movie's cursed.
That movie is...
Have you heard that before? Is that true?
Bottom. I've heard that before, yeah.
I haven't.
The guy that played Tin Man
dead.
was replaced because the lead in the makeup they used poisoned the other guy. So they replaced the person playing Tin Man like a week into production because they nearly killed him. I don't think they killed him. I think they nearly killed him. The woman playing the witch, the first time she disappears in Munchkinland, there's a smoke effect followed by a big gush of fire as she goes down the trapdoor. When they set off that fire, she wasn't in the trapdoor. So from her shoulders up got 3rd-degree burns, and she was hospitalized for 6 months. That was the break.
Yikes.
When she came back, she said, I'm not doing anything else with fucking fire. So they got a stunt double to ride the broom that had a smoke effect around the studio. Like they were swinging her from the ceiling on this fucking thing. And it fucking exploded and fell out of the air. And the same woman playing...
Great film, though.
The same woman playing the witch got poisoning from the copper in her makeup. Good film, though.
What an age.
What have we learned? What have we learned? Even when they like you, they're likely to kill you. And they just were feeding Judy Garland fucking amphetamines and sedatives.
Oh, it's awful. Awful. Good movie.
Timeless classic, though. Timeless classic. I mean, you can't argue, you can't argue with the results.
Yeah.
It's a great
I
film.
loved it. How's a dog?
And some great songs.
And some great songs.
There's a movie about the Munchkins staying in a hotel during the production of that. The little people that they hired to play those Munchkins. I'm using the word Munchkin because that's what they call them in the film. I'm using the word to describe the actors, little people.
You're referring to the
hope I'm
parts
okay.
they played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I'm okay there. But apparently that was a case of like, they got 80 or 90 little people in the same
I've heard
place.
this as well, and I mean, would it be kind of like an Olympic village, basically?
Basically, yeah.
Is that what it was?
Oh, you're saying they banged a lot.
Apparently,
I'm
those
getting
are the
it.
stories.
Yeah, the stories are that 80 little people that had up to that point been scattered across America and had never seen each other. You know, you were an anomaly in your small town.
There would have never been that many of them in the same place at the same time. That could just be anecdotal, but at the same time,
it's also human
fair
nature.
play to them.
But do you not think? I think that's great. I mean, I'd be disappointed.
No, it
if
is.
they
Yeah,
didn't.
no, it's just
It's spreading a story that may be fiction, but at the same time, it also seems highly credible.
But it's like it's
in the telling of it as well. You know, it like, you know, depending on who's telling the story, it's like, you know, oh, they were out of their minds and they were having fucking orgies and all this stuff, and you know, it depends on why somebody's telling the story and how they're telling.
It's like
it.
when the Pope came to Ireland and all the good Christians went up to Phoenix Park and fucked the bejesus out of each other.
Is that a thing?
Yep, the Pope's children.
There was a lot of Catholic hookups after the Pope visited.
When the Pope visited.
Nice.
Isn't that not a thing?
Is it?
The Pope's children? Loads of people just went up to Phoenix Park banging the hell out of each other.
Hilarious.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I made that up. I have a very...
I'd believe it.
I'd believe it.
You're telling me a load of Irish people went to the same place at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back when,
free love and...
you know, we drank even more than we currently do. A lot of repressed people.
Young people.
Were in the same
Young
place
people
at the
being
same
forced
time.
to go there.
Yeah.
We're ideologically opposed to prophylactics.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought I read somewhere there was a spike in the Irish kind of... There was a spike.
You're probably 100% correct.
I don't know, but I could have made it up as well, though. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares?
We were saying that the little people involved with the Wizard of Oz banged like it was the Olympic Village, and I guess it's the difference between Instagram and Twitter that is TikTok, is that seeing Olympic athletes just being thirsty motherfuckers on TikTok is the first time we've kind of really seen that in the media. Have you seen that? Like, we've always kind of known that the Olympic Village has this reputation of being like, you've got people that have spent 4 years focusing on being the best athletes they can possibly be, and 60% of them get knocked out day one and just get to hang around in a village with the best physical specimens in the world. And that's the concept that's been around. But maybe it's just me following Olympians, but then a lot of them are like me in the village when somebody hot walks by, and it's like, there's a lot of that going on, or testing the beds. They've really embraced the concept, is what I'm saying.
I think it's just all attention-seeking stuff. Like, you know, just because they're high-level athletes doesn't mean they're interesting people or even attractive, you know. I'm not...
Ouch.
I'm just saying, like, kind of... Like,
they've spent their entire youth becoming very good at throwing shot puts. They probably don't know how to
socialize. No, but I was going to say...
Shoot their shot.
No, I was going to say, like, you depict it as in, like, you know, it's Olympians, like the way we would perceive them in, like, you know, Greek mythology or something like that, like where it's like, you know, Sean from down the road who's like good at shooting arrows.
They're people who are trying to do things as quickly as possible.
Yes, that's me. I have no patience.
So, Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer.
I'm a good listener, though. Have that for me.
Was followed by Birds of Prey.
I mean, it's quality, not quantity.
And now we're on to The Suicide Squad. Harley is the consistent element across those three things, right? Has she been in anything else? She's just appeared in those three, right?
Yeah. Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and then the new Suicide Squad.
Okay. So, I guess high-level impressions. Did you enjoy The Suicide Squad from James Gunn?
Brian, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
Kevin?
Like, I've heard a lot of positive things about the movie and stuff. I'm not going to say it's necessarily a bad movie. It's not the type of movie I'm thrilled about. I think some of it maybe it's like I'm not who their target audience is to a degree. Did I like it? It was fine. Like, it was fine. I think it was fine. It was okay. Like, like
I think there's a lot to like in there. Like when it started pretty early on, I was kind of sitting there and I was just, not into it. The audience I saw it with didn't seem to be into it either. Like the humor didn't land. Really didn't like.
Did you?
One of my biggest problems.
Like I know there's a reduced capacity
Yeah,
because of COVID, but would you say they had filled that? Or met that?
They didn't fill it, but it was a small room, kind of a daytime showing.
Okay.
So there was enough people there, I think.
Because part of my watching it, I was watching it not laughing, going, I think I'd be laughing if a room was laughing.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like this is my biggest problem with the film. Really, is Gunn. His sensibility, his humor, just doesn't do it for me. It's like somebody trying very hard to be kind of edgy. Everything feels super contrived, whether it's the humor or the sentimentality or the violence. I can see it coming from a mile away. It just doesn't do it for me. But there was a lot to like in there. I thought the cast was great. I thought the costumes are great. The effects are great. But everything, every setup in it, I can see coming a mile away, and there's no payoff for me watching it. Kind of groan inducing. But at the same time, I was thinking about a lot of stuff. Like watching it initially, I was just really bored and frustrated. Kind of annoyed, but so I was kind of mad about it like that day. But we've been thinking about it last night or today. It's like there's so much in there to like. I think Gunn gets in his own way by trying to be a lot of things. Like I said, it's trying too hard. It's very contrived, whether it's trying to be edgy or provocative or like I have no problem with the gratuity or the violence or anything like that, but the way it shifts tonally from trying to be silly. I hate the forced bickering and banter between the characters. And it happens in Guardians all the time as well. And it's trying to create, an energy or a camaraderie by having people like, bicker and snipe and pick up on everything they're saying. But instead it's just overworked. It's hard to listen to. Everything about it is very contrived. Like there's so many jokes in there that just, like the bag of dick jokes, and I can't even remember. There's so many in there, and it's just like you're trying too hard. Just get on with the film. Get on with what works, because there's a lot to like in there. I like the outline for the plot. Like I said, the effects were good. It looks good. There's so much in there to like.
the dialogue is like Gilmore Girls,
Yeah,
but
just
superhero movie.
I love the Gilmore Girls, but that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's trying to be that without naturally being that. Like he doesn't have the humor. He doesn't have the wit for that kind of stuff. And it just doesn't land. And again, he tries to shift from that type of rapid fire dialogue to really gross out humor. Kind of really, you can see his kind of trauma sensibilities coming in. It's trying to be too much all at the same time, and none of it works, and it's frustrating.
But my impression, thinking back on it, right, to a degree, I'm just speaking for the opening sequence, is like basically the trailers and everything were just massive red herrings. The whole cast, red herring, and then they're all killed off in the first 5 minutes. I just want to say the thing is, though, like kind of watching it, I was just like, yeah. Like I figured these were all stupid characters. Like I thought when I saw the trailers, I thought like they're all going to die. They're all super expendable. Like it's definitely Israel Elba, Flag, and
Deadpool 2 beat them to the gag, basically.
Yeah, but that's it. But I just thought like I did think like kind of like no, this is yeah, exactly. And I just thought like no, like kind of I thinking back and I was just like, oh yeah, like I suppose that might have been effective for some people, like really effective stuff for some people. And I kind of liked that they tried to do it, but it was definitely wasted on me. I'm not saying that I don't think this is a bad movie. I kind of it was fine. Like I said, I liked it, but it's like if someone reined gun in a bit, it could have been a little bit better.
That's the thing, is like, you know,
Sorry for going across there.
he gets so much credit for the first Guardians film, and I know everything I like about that had to do with the other writers and not him, and he came in and he changed a lot. And I hate Guardians too, and I think it's a perfect example of what you get from Gunn when you give him free reign. And none of Guardians, like, I don't really like Guardians 1, but like I said, everything I like in it, I know is from the earlier. I know it is. I've even heard him talk about. That's the other thing, is like, I don't like the way. I get bad vibes from the guy. I remember one of the first interviews I saw with him after Guardians was his success, and he's talking about, I think he was like doing a breakdown of a scene or something, and the amount of times he mentions, I can't remember the writer's name. It was Nicole. What's her name? I've got to look up her name quickly. But the amount of times he goes out of his way to say that he changed this about her script or that about her script, or this thing that was a rewrite he did, or this and that. And I think a lot of the heart in Guardians is the remnants of probably what she did, I think. And then he came in and kind of tried to punch up the jokes with his kind of edgier humor and stuff like that. And
there's stuff in it then that, like, this has been a sort of troubled franchise the whole way through. Like, whatever David Ayer's project would have been, the fact that it was re-edited after the fact with him, or however you want to do it, like, those guys went in and made a movie, and that's not the movie that ended up on screen. So I do feel for the cast of the original Suicide Squad. I don't know that the actual movie would have been any better, but I did feel watching Kinnaman and watching Robbie and even Jai Courtney.
Who's Jai Courtney?
On screen here.
Who's Jai Courtney? Okay.
Boomerang.
Watching them in this movie going, this kind of feels like they're getting another swing at something they enjoyed doing.
Yes, I thought the same thing, Aiden. Yeah.
And there's a moment where they like slow-mo through the rain, and Rick Flag looks at Harley Quinn and she looks at him, and I went, I think they're enjoying this. And I suddenly liked the characters, and I liked Flag, and I liked their relationship, that they've been through shit together, and they'd literally been through the production of the first movie and the publicity and the reception, and they've come back around and they're doing something else here. So I was very annoyed then with how Kinnaman ends up, because I was just like, for fuck's sake, you know, just like, can we just let him? I don't know, but there was a feeling watching it to a degree that was like, I don't know if this is just shit that like they finally got this working and we're losing them, or they kind of were happy to go, I'm going to do a decent version of this and close the book on it.
I think it's the latter. I think for him maybe it was the latter, you know, but I did think the same thing. It's funny. It's just like, why did these guys come back when the first movie was panned so hard? But then maybe, like, you know, they were just kind of like, they were on board for David Ayer's vision, and then that got so kind of distorted or whatever from what we saw when it was released. And then this one, they were just like, we're going to do it James Gunn's way, and like, you can trust us, we're not going to fuck it up, you know. But he was just like, I'll do it, but
whether or not we think the project is good, I kind of feel for the actors in this place, where I'm like, I'm happy that they made the thing and got the thing out that they actually tried to make. I'm a little happier about that. I so fucking amused by Flula Borg, because I remember him being kind of like, I've got a movie role, I'm so happy I'm doing this. And there was some interview and he's like, I've spent 8 months training to put on this much weight to be the Javelin. And I was like, okay, Flula Borg's in this movie, let's see what they do with him. And I'm like, you spent all that time training, and that's the extent of your role.
Do you not think that was all like kind of marketing campaign?
Bullshit talk.
100%.
Leading in.
Because my brother texted me. My brother saw it and he was just like, oh, and Philip Berg's in it and he's brilliant and stuff. And I was just like, I thought I was thinking, oh, maybe he was like kind of keeping up that, like, you know, it's like kind of the Santa's real, he's real.
Did Steve Agee play the shark on set?
I think originally that's what I heard. I don't think it's clear yet because for a long time it was reported that that's who he was playing.
Yeah.
And it was only afterwards that they changed it. So
That's Stallone.
I think he played him on set, but it's unclear for now.
Who's that? Steve who?
Steve Agee, he's a comedian and an actor and a bunch of stuff. And
Is that Agee?
this was kind of, again, the podcasts that I listen to are friends with Steve Agee, and they talk, a little bit about, he's off making this movie, and it was kind of alluded to that he was playing the shark, but we know that
He's still in the film.
he's still in the film. He's the tech guy. the man in the chair.
But why wasn't he? Why is he taking out being the shark?
Well, you see, the thing is, he, in the same way that Sean Gunn played the Weasel,
Yes,
but you've no mention of Sean Gunn anywhere.
but he never.
There is a chance that Steve Agee was the shark on set, and they CG'd, they mocapped around him, and then got Stallone to do the hand.
That was Sylvester
to do his Vin
Stallone.
Diesel thing.
That was completely lost to me.
Yeah.
Jeez, do I watch these things? What's wrong with me?
No, you can hear it a bit, but it is a little lost under what they did to the voice,
Yeah, they changed it a lot.
Yes.
I think you'd just assume it was any generic voice actor doing a big guy voice.
Yeah.
If you didn't.
Yeah,
know
it's like the Bradley Cooper stuff with Rocket Raccoon. I always forget, and he never does any of the publicity for it, does he? He never really does anything. Is it even him? Who knows?
No. Just for the first Guardians film was the only time I've ever actually seen him do. Which is weird because he's got a big enough part in Endgame. It's like, is it really him or is it just somebody doing an impression of him now because it's such a broad... Because they do that. We know they do that. It's pretty rare for somebody voice acting to do the full performance.
In this sense, yeah.
Also, they hire people to do impressions.
Sorry, just want to a little bit of a segue here. Obviously, I rewatched Spider-Man for Homecoming and stuff. There is so many scenes in that movie where none of those actors are in the same place. There's a whole scene where Iron Man is given out to Peter Parker.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they
you
are
can tell.
not in the same scene, and there's a lot of it. And it's just like, did these people not want to act together or something? But then you do see scenes where they act together and stuff. But my God, there's a lot of it. It's like must have been scheduling. They're like.
Yeah, the logistics.
But you know what? I don't really care. I know that sounds awful. It's but I'd rather almost just know about it, because then it's just you're not trying to kind of convince me otherwise. You know what I mean? It's I don't really care. Life's too short for that shit.
I mean, if it works,
I didn't notice it the first time, anyways.
There's a thing famously they showed the Good Wife. There was two characters on that couldn't stand each other, and they were best friends through a bunch of the show, the characters, but by the time it came to their sort of last on-screen appearances together, they were done in tight singles for the entire back half of the show, and it's you never see these two.
The two actors couldn't stand each other. Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that Margulies and
the one that played Kalinda? Is it Kalinda?
Kalinda, yeah. Apparently she wasn't happy with her being outshining her, essentially, because her character was so popular. Yeah.
Well, she was a sort of detective character that did a lot of the investigation for Margulies' lawyer, and she got to be kind of wisecracky and
Do you know what kind of
skill set?
There was just some dialogue there and stuff. Do you know what kind of frustrated me about some of the stuff in the Suicide Squad? It's like when Margaret Robbie was talking to the javelin guy, right? And he's like, "Oh, you have to carry it, or you have to do something." And she's like, "Do what? Do what?" She's not stupid. There's no one around. Why is she why is she kind of trying to do her bit in front of this dying man? You know what I mean? And it's unrealistic.
Well, I think we have to.
I think that's Gunn's humor as well, though.
But I don't think it works. Yeah. I don't think it works. It's just
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't work.
What you're asking is, why is Harley Quinn doing her bit in front of a
dying man,
a dead
when
person?
She's the only person there?
We're supposed to accept that Harley Quinn is crazy. It's not a bit. Do you know?
Yeah, but also in the way it's constructed and presented, it just doesn't land.
I hear you there, because I also can't quite hear what Flula had just said. So when she's asking questions, I'm trying to work out what the context was.
But yeah, see, I think it's just kind of it's Harley Quinn is people. You can say, "Oh, she's manic, she's crazy," that, but she's empathetic, and she's a very intelligent person. She really is. She's just unhinged. It doesn't mean that she's incapable of reading that situation.
That Milton joke as well. Like it's that whole type of humor where, you know, somebody's saying something and somebody's disagreeing with them and they're having an argument about who said what, and it's just this back and forth, and it's too long, and then it calls back.
He thinks
to
that's
it later.
banter. He thinks that's character developing banter.
Yeah, and it's
I enjoyed
not,
the Milton bit. I like a lot of the movie. So gonna just do a little summary. So they skip a lot of the setup this time, or they blow through it. And the Suicide Squad is Viola Davis's Amanda Waller puts together Task Force X, which is a bunch of superpowered villainous characters who are offered 10 years off their prison sentence in exchange for undertaking a dangerous task. It's actually the Dirty Dozen with Lee Marvin and a bunch of other people as well. If anybody's ever seen the Dirty Dozen, the war movie,
it's Cyber City Oedo.
It's a bunch of things, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm a Dirty Dozen clearly came first. I'm just saying. It's,
How to Paint Your Wagon.
Cyber City Oedo.
How to Paint Your Wagon.
You haven't seen it? Similar premise.
Yeah,
3 episodes. It's very good. Check it out. You haven't seen it?
What is it, Brian? Sorry, you're trying to talk there, bro.
Sorry, and you do it. No, I'll let Ian finish.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that we've got the plot outline.
The summary, yeah. Sorry.
We have a new group of villains this time around, coupled with a few old favourites. We've still got Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag. We introduce Idris Elba's Bloodsport, who I think did a really great job. He's a
Bloodshot.
Bloodsport.
Is it Bloodshot or Bloodsport?
Bloodsport.
Sport. That's stupid.
Actually, Brian, I was thinking about it. It's not stupid. You're wrong. Carry on, Aiden.
It's stupid.
They are sent to the small Caribbean island of Corto Maltese to try and dismantle a government experiment that is a threat to American freedoms and liberties. Mm-hmm. We open as the team led by Rick Flag, and I think we see Michael Rooker's character as our sort of entry into
Savant.
Rick Flag's team.
He's the entry character, yeah.
Storming the beaches of Corto Maltese. We meet a whole bunch of random people. They're immediately killed. We go 3 days earlier and we meet who our actual leads are.
I liked all that.
I didn't. I hate doing a 3 days earlier type of thing in a movie. Because it invariably means I get to watch 90 minutes that lead back to where I started. Now, to be fair to the movie, they didn't do that. They gave us a little different intro. And it was kind of more like a false start than this was going to be the whole film. Peter Capaldi's in it as a thinker. We're dealing with Starro the Conqueror, which is a character that is a giant starfish that controls people's brains.
It worked.
It worked. I think it worked. I didn't.
Yeah.
When Justice League started from the animated series, they started with a 3-part episode that was Starro, and it's my own bias on this, but they showed episode 1 and then I had to wait a week for the next episode, Justice League, but I didn't quite grasp the weekly fucking thing. So when there were repeats, I kept tuning in thinking I was going to see the next bit of it. So I would see the Starro storyline 9 times before I got onto another bloody episode. So I hate that fucking starfish. It's
that's hilarious.
It's kind of like a irrational dislike. I just hate the fucking thing. I have no interest in watching this bloody starfish. That being said, they did an amazing job with it. They kind of made it personified it with the smaller possessions, the little starfish possessing the bodies. I'd never seen that presented as under that starfish is a corpse. Anytime I've seen it in a comic, they try and get the starfish off the person and retrieve the person. But the take on this was once that thing hits your face, you're gone.
Makes sense. Actually, I just realized something. I think I liked the movie and the movie was fine, but you know what? I think because of the hype maybe or the different things and the stuff I've heard, I actually think it was very, very, very underwhelming.
No,
I think it's just a bit bland. It's a bit bland.
There's a lot of noise and a lot of colour and stuff, but it's just
But none of it pays off. It's when I say none of it pays off, I mean it's not as impactful as you think it is. It's a little bit flat.
No. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff just doesn't.
I liked it, but just underwhelming.
Bloodsport and Peacemaker doing the little competition through the camp of people that they're killing, that didn't quite. They're trying to show a sort of rivalry in how they're killing people. Each one wants to be the better killer, but it doesn't come across as competitive as they wanted to. And then at the end of it, they sort of have a little argument over it. You're oh, they were having a competition. I I didn't quite twig that, you know. Yeah.
And then the twist, which you can see a mile away.
I didn't see that.
Just doesn't land.
I didn't see that, and it landed for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
I
hated it.
I didn't see that coming, and I laughed. I wasn't mad on the sort of chapterizing it, you know, putting things on screen, booting me onto the next. Just every time you do that, you take me out of your movie. Let's just keep going, you know.
Yeah.
That's. I think that's more examples of it. Is that he's trying to be so many different things all at once without it being an authentic part of his style.
Yeah.
And it just feels contrived and it pulls you out.
Yeah. Something I do think is kind of interesting is Daniela Melchior, who played Ratcatcher.
Yes, brilliant.
I thought she was really good.
Yeah, brilliant. That was great.
I liked her.
Yeah, she was great. I
liked the stuff with Taika Waititi.
Didn't realize that was him till the end.
But I just think it was so brutally shoehorned into the fucking thing that it was crap, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
again, it doesn't land.
She did an amazing job conveying what she was supposed to convey, but it was so out of context from her broader story that I'm like, why am I getting this flashback now? Why is she crying now? Like, I mean, I felt what she was feeling. She did a great job.
But it's shoehorned.
But it's from the wrong movie. If I'd watched the whole movie about the Ratcatcher and seen her upbringing and whatever, she did a great job.
I thought the Ratcatcher was a really good character. I was just because like, maybe I didn't pay attention to the trailers enough, I guess. But like, a part of me was like, wasn't kind of really expecting that character as such, you know? And I thought she was really cool. There's some stuff though I thought was a little bit ignorant. I kind of felt like the representation of a South American city was a little bit like, it was really like, of course these people don't have shoes or t-shirts and wear like kind of dated secondhand clothes almost, and of course they have like a massive rat infestation. Like would they dare to do that if it was based in New York or London or something? I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Kind of realistic. Like I don't know if that's a valid point. But I kind of just felt like it was just kind of like, yep, America's coming in to liberate little Cuba again.
I think that's valid. They're very much marginalized in a film set in their own. I know it's a fictional country, but essentially, like they have very little agency and they're not represented particularly well in the entire film, and it's a bit. I
totally forgot when I was watching the movie, and then the girl and the other rebel fighters burst into the room and they kill the main the military people. I was just like, I forgot there was like a coup going on. I completely forgot that.
I did forget about them as well.
Yeah.
That whole bit with Harley and the president as well is just, again, so
weird.
forced.
I thought he had weird big eyes.
See it coming a mile away.
I thought he was like some sort of like mutant person or something. He had like these big massive eyeballs, and I thought he was kind of like a Star Fox type of character with like the whole like charm thing, which I thought was creepy, but like ridiculous. It's kind of stupid. Yeah, I just didn't think. I just felt like that was a little bit not nice the way it was, where it was based and like, how it was perceived.
That whole montage, it doesn't work. It's not funny. Again, it's not authentically his style, and it's just setting up so he can pull the rug out.
It was
to shoot, but it's a wasted couple of minutes, and it's also just a very weird.
It is. It's weird. It's weird because you're trying to set this guy up as a very classic South American dictator, and it's like, but it'd be one thing if it was like the movie begins with like a kind of Coming to America style dictator waking up in this palace, and he's got like a shrine to Harley Quinn for some reason, and he tries to draw the Suicide Squad there to get her. Like if there was some sort of weird, like, at least then it's sort of part of the plot. But like we've been introduced to this guy as the president of a country, and like he has no way of knowing that Harley Quinn is going to be one of the 8 people storming his beach.
And like, but the whole thing, like, I want to marry you because it's what like people would want. It's like, why would you? Because like, you're against America. Like it was like absolute. Like I thought, just like kind of just like fucking weird and stupid. I kind of actually forgot about that whole thing.
There is a weird thing with, like, do you remember they found a scrapbook in Saddam's palace of like pictures of Condoleezza Rice? There is precedence for a dictator having a fixation on somebody, and I can see how it would be a funny joke, but they didn't set that up with Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Also, as well, like in any
I thought
other
he was
film,
manipulating her or something.
yeah, but like in any other film with that sort of, dynamic of a person and their prisoner, and them, essentially they'd be coercing that person into marriage and sex.
Yeah.
And instead it's played as like her, swooning over him
But
is quite
it serves
odd
no
also.
fucking point because it would be one thing if she was the key to controlling Starro and it would further his agenda, or it actually served the movie. Like if you think about Hook, where Dustin Hoffman tries to co-opt Peter Pan as a father figure and steal the children, he's developing that relationship to antagonize and torture his enemy. And it becomes a key feature of the movie, getting Peter winning his children back. The Suicide Squad, this is nothing. You're like, why is this going on? He just wants to bang Harley Quinn?
Marry her? Is he like just like a South American?
She is an icon for my people? What?
It's like in South Park, the Mexican Joker. But no, it's just like, I don't get it. I just thought that stuff was a little bit bloody stupid, to be honest, a bit redundant. There was some of the stuff like that I wasn't necessarily keen on, but I think that's just gone.
I mean, I would almost, like, if we drop that whole concept and we still have the idea that, like, Harley is captured on the beach and dragged to the El Presidente, and he starts to interrogate her, and he thinks she's harmless, and she kills him early in the movie. Look, on spoilers, we do flag this early on. If that had been the angles, like he completely underestimates this person and she kills him, and then we're like, oh, right, we thought this was the villain, now he's gone. What is this movie? That'd be one thing, but just this weird romance.
But like exactly
moment.
Even if it was a case of like kind of captured Harley Quinn, like kind of he's like kind of here. Why are you here? He's trying to kind of like get the information out of her, and then does that whole thing of basically like he's just like cliche thing of telling her his plans or something, and then she kills him. She doesn't have to rely on this guy to save her. Nothing like that. You can play that out the same way, And that bit where they're climbing the thing and she runs on the street. That's all great, fantastic. But it's just like bizarre way to go about it, though.
Yeah. Because it could be kind of funny that if we find out, like, this movie treats the villain as just as expendable as any of these fucking criminals, and then the next general hops in line and she escapes the building and hooks up with Flag and they get back to hunting down Jotunheim.
The Tinker.
That's what I was going next. Peter Capaldi's character. They pick up...
Wasted.
Do you not feel like
they pick
it
up
was
Peter...
all red herrings? The whole trailer, like their whole marketing thing was red herring after red herring after red herring.
I don't even feel that it was a red herring necessarily. I remember like the first we saw of this, one of the first things we saw was just this big title card with, look at the size of this cast. And that's that's a sort of it's kind of a prestige move that films try and make, is that there's so many named people, but the thing is, in the title card, so many of those people aren't actually named people. They're known, but they're not big names, but it's a stunt basically. And the other part then is that he gets to say he is reinterpreting or reigniting all these kind of characters who've maybe left on the wayside, and he's bringing his genius reinterpreting them, because the Thinker's character could have just been any other scientist, but no, now it's Gunn has got this cool version of the Thinker or cool version of Polka Dot Man or whatever. It's a stunt, and it's a bit of an ego thing to say.
But the thing is,
here's
it's
me coming
worked.
in. I'm doing so much with. Yeah, no, it works. Yeah,
I'm
not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying
it's worked, and we're going to get more Peacemaker. And I'm starting to see them floating the concept of James Gunn's Harley Quinn film coming up. Like that's a sort of a throwaway line that they're going to lean into as time goes on. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't.
He doesn't get the character. Like,
it made me like Rick Flag.
Yeah,
and I remember when I saw when we went to see the Suicide Squad, and I saw him in like a boardroom with the Enchantress for the first time, and I went, it looks like, when they stick Triple H in a suit?
Yeah.
You know, it's
hot.
that. It's just like roids, not quite clean shaven, just looks sweaty and uncomfortable. And that's what Kinnaman looked like in that fucking boardroom. And I went, oh, this looks like a WWE movie. You know, and it just didn't. Like, that is the moment I detached from the first Suicide Squad, when I saw Joel Kinnaman looking like a professional wrestler crammed into a suit. I went, this isn't great. Maybe it should have been earlier. Like, I put that on this morning. I put the original on this morning and was trying to look at where it went wrong. In the space of 4 minutes in the first movie, there's 3 different needle drops as we meet 3 different characters. We have 3 introductions. We have Will Smith's character, we have Harley Quinn, we have Amanda Waller. Then we spend the next 12 minutes doing intros. Again, we get reintroduced to Will Smith's character, we get reintroduced to Harley Quinn, we get introduced to Boomerang. Oh god, we have Diablo. It's like 15 minutes of introductions and needle drops. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is this movie? Like, your inciting incident's supposed to kick off at 20 minutes if we're sticking to, like, Sid Field's script writing thing, you know? Like, I want things to be more interesting than by the numbers. Yeah, there's by the numbers shit that you can see happening in mediocre movies. And it tends to work, you know, it tends to be fine. Inciting incident kicks off at 20 minutes and, yeah, like, you can kind of stop watch it if you really want to. But, you know, better movies have all the ingredients, but they, you know, you don't notice the mechanics. This one, I'm just looking for, like, watching the opening of that, I'm looking for the mechanic. I'm going, please do something right, you know? I've digressed to the original, I apologize.
I feel like I was just going to bring it back to the new one, but I was going to say, like, I feel like I'm ragging on it to a degree. I just want to say, like, I really enjoyed Ratcatcher. I really enjoyed King Shark. I wish there was kind of more of him. Flag was brilliant and stuff. But I was just going to say, it's just like, I kind of feel that Waller's character was crap in this one. I really liked her in the first one, and I think that she just nosedived. She was way better when she was like a more, like, less emotional, more calculated kind of government type, you know, that she can separate, like, kind of, these are just like, you know, it's the mission at hand, blah blah. But like the double cross scene, the double cross scene, and then her getting like, you know, screaming, "Fuck you, motherfuckers! Goddamn you!" Blah 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 blah. It's like in a room full of like her peers and stuff. I just didn't see that for her. Did you feel that at all?
Yeah, no. Like, I know her character best from, like,
Justice
League Unlimited, and
very calculated.
She's a character who is, like, always has the upper hand.
Yes,
doesn't
yeah,
lose her cool.
yeah.
Is just prepared for stuff, and yeah, he completely undermined that in this one by having.
I didn't like it at all. I didn't like that at all.
Davis is fantastic, and yeah, he's
ruined it.
That character has been, like, the original opens with a limo. Sorry, Amanda Waller's first appearance in that movie is a limousine pulling up to a restaurant, and the Rolling Stones' "Sympathy for the Devil" starts playing. You know, please allow me to introduce myself. It's like, and then she just like, ever since Superman flew across the sky, and it's like, oh, this sucks so bad. Just like, even if they just stopped all the needle drops and just had like just a little bit of score in the background, these would read better. You know, without the fucking trying to grab my attention every 90 seconds with some new rhythm. It's annoying. Angela Bassett was Amanda Waller in the Green Lantern movie. That character is just not being served well in live action. They keep casting good people, but getting them to do shitty things.
Well, I don't think she was that bad in the first Suicide Squad.
Well, like, if you think about the first Suicide Squad, I've just told you I watched 20 minutes of it this morning, and it was all introduction. The first time we meet them, her at the dinner table with these generals convincing them to greenlight Task Force X. We then go on to have her go and meet these people individually before they become the team. So there's a half hour of her putting the team together. They get sent to do the mission. And what are they doing? They're rescuing her. By the time they're flying into the city, they're extracting her from the middle of it. It's like, what the fuck is this narrative?
Yeah, well,
I even as I'm talking to you, I'm remembering it. Like, she's like, no, she's crap in that as well.
Do you think?
Not the. she is not as an actress, nor her performance, whatever. What she's been given to do, rubbish.
Yeah, I didn't like seeing her being portrayed the way she was. But like, it's not that the actor did a bad job. She's great. It's just the character nosedive, but that's no fault of her own. But I was going to say Harley Quinn. Like, Margot Robbie's awesome. Like, I don't think anybody would ever dispute that she's not a brilliant actor. Like, she's great. Not that she's better than this, because like, you know, fantastic actors play these roles all the time. But I think like kind of Birds of Prey, I felt she got really like shafted in that movie. She is such a fucking good actor. Harley Quinn is awesome character, all that kind of stuff. I thought they were definitely less of her in
but
this.
remember what we were saying earlier is she is heavily involved in these movies getting made.
But there was less of her than I thought there would be.
In this movie? I don't know. It's hard because like I'm looking at the poster of it now, going Polka Dot Man. Really enjoyed him. Rick Flag really enjoyed him. King Shark, cool. Idris Elba. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. I enjoy him. I
think he's great.
Fucking everything.
It was nice to see him get that much screen time and something like. If you think about, like off the top of my head, the two kind of most exposure he's had from a type of blockbuster type thing would be Pacific Rim,
which he's awesome in. I like that movie.
Yeah. No, he is. I love Pacific Rim, but he's barely in it.
Yeah.
He's not in enough, and he's in a couple of minor appearances in
the
MCU.
Marvel
He's
movies, Heidel or I can never pronounce his name. Heidel.
Heimdall,
Heimdall
or Heimdall, or we'll talk to a Norwegian and they'll tell us we're all wrong.
He is a waste in those movies. To agree, but he's a love character.
But it was great to see him get. It was great to see him get this much screen time.
Yeah,
he's great.
Agreed.
John Cena's Peacemaker. Whether or not you agree with James Gunn's sensibility, the "I would eat a bag of dicks" thing, like the first time we meet him, and it's like, "Are you kidding?" He does exactly what I do, and he walks out and goes, "But better." And like I'm like, okay, he's really good at this.
I like Cena.
Yeah.
It's more the what Gunn gave him to do that I don't like.
When King Shark tries to eat Ratcatcher and they all wake up in the middle of the night,
I love that.
Peacemaker shows up in his tidy whities.
Well, not that, but
that was so funny. Maybe you disagree. I really enjoyed that he's the only one that stripped down to his tidy whities and just stood there.
I think any man who's brave enough, or any person who's brave enough to wear white underwear, deserves some respect.
Were you wearing white underwear in the woods, Kev?
No, I only wear black underwear, pal. I'm not.
Not by the time he got back.
I'm not that brave.
Margot Robbie was great.
I mean, I've never had accidents, but you never know.
Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher was great.
I wouldn't want someone to see it.
Who else we got? Jai Courtney was good.
Some mean streaks.
Nathan Fillion didn't have much to do. Rooker.
How long do you think he was
Rooker
wearing his
was
underwear
really
for?
a dead end.
I'm not saying he's brave.
He's still on the underwear.
The shark. I like the shark. I'm a real softie for all the big hulky monsters and stuff.
Overall, I think this is an okay film that I would come back to for the charisma of its cast, but not for the content of the film, if that makes any sense. Like, when the moments where Harley is great, she's great. The moment where Bloodsport is cool, like his weaponry, I would love to have seen like a little explanation on what the hell's happening with his little like expansive nanotech guns or something. Like, I'm just guessing.
Also, that part where he put the rotating thing on and it didn't fire any faster. It's spinning around. It's like, oh, is that going to fire multiple shots? It's like, no, it still fires one shot at a time.
But they're bigger bullets now.
But why is the thing spinning?
It's stored energy.
The forearm draw, like micro bow and arrow thing was kind of cool. Like the slide thing he had there. He had a lot of tech on him, and it's like I had no explanation of it. And was trying to work out what it was doing as it was going, and it's like
I didn't need an explanation.
I didn't need.
I
would like it.
I thought the spinning thing on his gun at the end.
I was convinced he was going to get a star on his face because his helmet broke.
Right.
I was super convinced. I thought that was like foreshadowing or something. But we'll go back to the Peacemaker.
But I was I was so annoyed when, Peacemaker chases down Ratcatcher and then it goes 8 minutes earlier. And it's like, oh, can we please just tell a fucking linear story? I don't know. Like, it's not that I lose track of these things, but it's just you bring me out of the movie every time.
It was like Dunkirk. I really struggled with Dunkirk in that sense, and I just don't think it's... I think it works sometimes, but it doesn't make your movie more... It doesn't make your movie any cleverer, I should say.
If you're going to do it, there needs to be a reason to do it. There needs to be a mechanic built into the thing. Like, why are we jumping back a couple of minutes? But instead, it's like, at the start, I'm going to pull the rug out by going, here's what's happening parallel. And then later on, I'm going to show you what's happening a bit early. It's like, you could just accomplish all that with editing.
I as annoyed as I was by the 3 days earlier thing, when we go through that little red herring moment, and we've said red herring a few times, but like when we go to that moment of the beach getting stormed and everybody getting killed, and then we go to another beach and they walk out of the water and then the Suicide Squad comes up.
I thought it was great.
Like,
yeah,
that's a nice idea. That's a nice moment. Yeah, like we misled you. This is our actual Suicide Squad.
I did like the detachable kid.
It's a little bit like recast, but
I did like the detachable kid. Nathan Fillion. Awful. It's just because you're watching it, it's like you're kind of into it, and then like he disconnects his arms. It's like, all right, something wild is going to happen, and then it's so pathetic, and then it just goes downhill from there. I liked kind of how they kind of threw you off with that stuff, but I didn't appreciate it at the time when watching it. Not that I thought it was stupid. I realized after the fact, like, oh, that was like a complete like misdirection, I think as an audience watching trailers and stuff, but I feel like we're ragging on the movie so hard. There's elements I liked.
I'm trying to balance out the fact that like I said, there is something about it that's going to bring me back. We've all been clear from the start.
We've all been clear from the start where we stand at it. So I think we're just kind of discussing it critically at this point because there's a lot to criticize.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like the first thing I said was, I think the cast is great. I think the effects were good. I thought a lot of the costumes looked really good. There was a lot to like in there, but overall I'm saying it's unsuccessful for me because of all these.
What did you think of what did you think of the polka dot guy and his whole mother arc? I thought that was funny but also horrific and creepy, and then he sees his giant mother and he's shooting. It was so but it was good. It was good fun. I thought it was like stupid obviously, but I thought it was funny.
I did laugh when it cuts to him and what he sees when he's dancing in the nightclub.
Yes, that was kind of funny. Yeah, horrific.
And Idris got his kind of like Captain America moment where it's like, I'll take the high ground, shock man, yum yum. Like that's Hulk smash, really, isn't it?
Yeah. He was really good in it, to be fair, and I thought his costume was awesome. I'm not familiar with that kind of character in the books at all, to be honest, because I get so confused. There's Bloodshot, Bloodsports, Deathstroke, Deadpool. They're all like the same.
I mean, it was clearly supposed to be. It was clearly supposed to be Deadshot, though.
Yes.
Yeah, it was meant to be Will Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're talking about Peacemaker TV show. What do you reckon? You obviously saw the post-credit scenes.
Yeah, like that's kind of like I knew he wasn't dead because they've made so much about the Peacemaker TV show coming. I'd rather have a Rick Flag TV show. Honest to God. Like
I'm happy for seeing
I feel for Kinnaman at this point. This is my Luke Evans at this point. Joel Kinnaman has been trying so hard, and he like RoboCop didn't work, Suicide Squad didn't work.
Peacemaker is the character that most represents Gunn's humor and sensibility.
So I'm not familiar with the character at all.
No, but what I'm saying is like
what he's
in
done
the
to
film.
the character.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is in the film, Peacemaker is pretty much Gunn's insert for all the type of jokes that Gunn wants to make, all the type of stuff that Gunn wants to do. And Gunn is writing and directing, I think, all the episodes of this Peacemaker TV show. So, no, I'm not going to watch it because it's just going to be untapped, unfiltered James Gunn. Here's a crude character who is going to say all the bad edgy jokes that I like to write. So no, I don't want 8 episodes of that. No thanks.
So here's a question then. Is he a character that's learned something from his encounter with Rick Flag? Or is he the Tick? you know, and he's just this big dumb idiot for 8 episodes. Has he learned?
I don't think he's done.
But do you think
this is what I'm saying.
He's learned anything? Like, do you think the character's going to show any growth in this series?
He's pretty much Captain America meets the Punisher.
Gunn's stick is to have the first trailer for Guardians made such a big deal out of Chris Pratt flipping the guys off, and then the Nova guy going, "What a bunch of a-holes," and it was like it was the edgiest thing ever, and it was just I just groaned so much. But Gunn's entire stick is to have these edgy, crass, kind of brash characters, but then he also likes to insert a bit of kind of schmaltzy sentimentality.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, what is Peacemaker? Is he the Tick, or is he going to have this kind of, you know, redemption or whatever? Gunn is basically going to have the guy do, you know, reprehensible things, crude things, all for the sake of his type of humor, but then he's also going to try inject a bit of sentimentality in there, basically. There. That's 8 episodes. You don't need to watch it.
Cool. So we'll be covering that on the podcast. We'll watch every episode, talk about it in depth.
And we can play that clip right before every review, because
that's your opinion on all of it.
Yeah. Well, no, just we can say, oh no, yeah, you called that 2 years ago.
Now let's talk about this week's episode of The Peacemaker. Just play that clip. Next week, play the same thing.
I mean, we can talk about it in full. I would like a bit of acknowledgement at the top of the discussion that I called it.
Okay.
I called it 1.5 years ahead of when it first aired.
Episode 21. Bookmark it.
Do we think we've covered Suicide Squad?
I just want to say, again, you know, back to the whole kind of contrivance and stuff. I think a part of it, another example of it, I think is the General, Starro as the General at the end saying, again, you know, trying to add a different layer or dimension to the character saying, I was happy floating in space among the stars. It's like, that's not true, because once you took over the astronauts, you could have just set yourself free and floated in space. So that line doesn't work. It's just another example of Gunn's kind of contrivance. I want to give another layer of this character. I'm going to have it be this, you know, kind of tragic figure. It's like, no, that doesn't work because you were in space and you could have just took over the astronauts. You could have just let yourself out. That's bullshit. Yeah. So fuck off.
And that character has been previously sort of represented as it's a intergalactic virus. It finds the next planet and occupies hosts. Like it has a if not an agenda, it has a function. It does the thing.
How do rats eat stuff that's bulletproof, though? Like, that doesn't make sense either.
Did any of you kind of think it was like when that moment where Bloodsport shot at the Peacemaker shot at Bloodsport, was any of you that were kind of just like, please don't go through his bullet. Please don't. And then they did it, and I was just like, God, it was awful. And then Peacemaker does how he takes smaller bullets. It's like, well, at least he acknowledged how dumb that was, or how, like, you know, silly that was or something. But I was just like, please don't. Sorry, Kev.
I hate that line earlier as well when they're having their little competition where he's saying, you know, I can't remember what it was, but it's just this really kind of contrived banter where he's saying nobody likes a show off unless the thing the show off is doing is really dope, and then
Idris kind of
Elba kind of turns to the camera and goes, oh yeah, that is cool. It's just like, it just doesn't ring true for the character at all. It just, I fucking hate that stuff. It's just, I
don't think I don't think that
just,
character would have been competitive with. I think Peacemaker would have been competitive with Bloodsport, but I don't think Bloodsport would have been competitive with, you know, I think he should have been kind of dismissive of the whole thing.
It's the shift from that type of thing the whole time. You know, it's like, you know, in that moment, the character is going to have this kind of meta moment almost, and that, yeah, fuck that is a kind of cool thing, but then doesn't behave like that again. It's just, and then tonally, it's just shifting from this kind of cartoonish irreverence to you know, something more serious. It's just all over the place. It just really doesn't work for me. I just wish he'd get out of his own way and just.
I saw somebody say that, like, what I'd love to see now is Henry Cavill take on the role of Sentry or Hyperion in the Marvel Universe and just be the best Superman movie for the last 30 years, you know? It's like...
They're going to do that.
Can we get...
Do you think they're going to do that, Brian?
They're absolutely going to do that. I think it'd be such a big, easy win for them to say, here's Cavill in the MCU. I don't know what... I'm not saying they'll do exactly that, but I'd be very surprised if they don't snap him
Better
up
Bill.
for...
Better.
I think they'll get him into the MCU. I don't think they'll do that Superman parallel thing because I don't think Cavill will want to alienate Warner Brothers or DC. I don't think he'll want to make enemies there for no reason.
Oh,
this is the thing though about...
And I think he would annoy somebody.
I think he's very capable of doing that.
I think as well though, like one of the things I've heard a couple of times people say about Hollywood in particular is like it's virtually never the case. I'm sure there's instances of it, but it's virtually never the case where it's something personal. So somebody might hate your guts and might not hire you or like you for a number of things, but the moment you become valuable to them, none of that matters. They will quickly reverse that. So I think he's kind of free to do whatever. Because I mean, look at it this way: like a gun was fired from Marvel, and he went straight to DC to, you know, ostensibly do exactly what he did for Marvel. It was like, hey, come do that for us, but do it R-rated, and then they still hired him back. So I don't think it's that easy to. I don't think they take that type of stuff personally. I think Cavill could play a Hyperion or Sentry, and Warner Brothers would take him back.
I don't think he'd want to play Sentry.
If they had any reason to. I don't think he's going to.
Because I think the problem with Sentry is that Sentry is sad Superman.
Well, Sentry's a crap character.
Sentry's a crap character, but like Sentry is sad Superman, and the gag there is get him away from being the miserable version of Superman that Snyderverse has kind of put in place. But like Captain Britain, it's a great shout, you know, like he'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think that's our Suicide Squad analysis pretty comprehensively done. I guess the last, a separate thing, it's a complete topic change. I was just going to say that the other thing that I watched this week was, I watched season 2 of Mythic Quest. I don't know if there's a season 3 of that show coming. I don't know if you've watched any of it. It's an Apple show, Apple TV show. It's a funny show because 80% of it is kind of crappy sitcom, or it's fine sitcom. It's frustrating to anybody that works in the art or gaming industries to watch people smacking away at a keyboard and then animation appears on screen and you go, ugh, that's not.
Do you remember that TV show?
Really fucking annoying.
Do you remember that TV show in the 90s? I think it was Australian, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, but it was Australian, and I'm sure someone. No,
Home and Away.
That's still going on.
Neighbours?
No, that's still going on.
That was
Why?
Girl from Atlantis.
Why?
Xena?
No.
That was
The
New
Girl
Zealand.
from Tomorrow.
No.
Girl from Tomorrow.
What was it called, Ryan?
Round the Twist?
No. It was a show about excuse me. My God. It was a show about kids like working in basically a video game development place, and they had like a kind of computer AI thing, I think called Virgil, that would like also get them into trouble, have them into troubles, all that kind of stuff. But they were game testers, and it was horrific. Do you remember that at all?
Nope.
I'd say the only people who may remember or person is Benny. So Benny, if you hear this, what am I talking about? He'll remember.
Specifically broadcast on Athlone in 1999.
But yeah, apparently on the den.
The thing with Mythic Quest is the writers-creators are Charlie Day, Rob McElhenney, Megan Gans, Kate McElhenney's writing on it as well, and a bunch of other writers. We have seen from Always Sunny and their previous work that they are capable of great fucking things. And in both seasons, there is at least one episode where they go away from the main thrust of the show, do a completely different episode with a completely different cast and a completely different scenario. And you're like, this is great. Can I watch this show? And then they come back to whatever. It feeds into the narrative of what we learn about the main cast and characters. Like in season 1, there's an episode where it just travels back 15 years and you meet a couple who bond over buying video games in a shitty, like, you think about like an old PC video game store where you'd buy the boxes that are big. And they meet and they talk about games they like, and they develop a game, and they follow the rise and fall of this games company. And then it kind of ends with the office that they occupied is where our main crew is. But it's a different tone, it's shot differently, it's a different cast. It's great. And they did the same thing in season 2. There's an episode where they travel back to the 50s and they focus on F. Murray Abraham's character as a young science fiction writer, like working opposite sort of the same company that published Isaac Asimov and Ursula Guin. And then the next episode is just F. Murray Abraham as an older man dealing with that rivalry with an aged William Hurt. And they're just 2 standalone episodes out of the show. You could just... Those 3 episodes alone in Mythic Quest. Great. They do paint the characters in the rest of the show a bit better, and you start to see them as realer people, because they start off as Big Bang Theory level, bright, colourful sitcom characters. And these other things start to put character on them. And I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, it's, again, because of the creative people behind this show, I have watched 2 seasons of it. And there's 3 episodes I can point at that are fantastic. And they have informed some of the characters after the fact. And they've made the rest of the show better. But it's like, it's just a weird soup to wade through to find these 3 little gold bots.
I feel like they got the idea for this show when they visited Ubisoft and met a couple of weird developers and thought, this is a great thing to mine comedy from. And it's like, I don't think so, guys. I think you just met a weird dude and it kind of tickled your funny bone a bit, but I don't think it's the greatest premise for a comedy show.
Well, it's not... The thing with sitcoms that we can all see, like, it isn't a controversial statement to go that, like, where a sitcom is set doesn't ultimately fucking matter. It's really just about putting
it's the characters,
a couple of characters in a situation. The problem with something like a Big Bang Theory or a Mythic Quest is that I don't know, maybe if it was set in a radio, like if it was news radio or a firehouse, firemen and radio people are just as fucking annoyed. But like when I'm watching nerd comedy and game dev comedy as a nerd and someone familiar with game dev, and I'm watching them get so much fucking wrong,
but like on the
frustrating.
This is the thing, on the flip side of that, you've got a show like Silicon Valley, which got so much so right.
Yeah,
did a lot of research, kind of examining every level, from like the kind of executives who maybe once were, they were something else when they started out as, kind of computer science people, but then once they become billionaires, they're in this different realm. But there's so many observations about billionaires in Silicon Valley that are on the money. There's so many observations about development, every aspect of that show, basically, from whether it's the money or the kind of the cult of personality or the actual behind the scenes and the inner workings of it, that Silicon Valley got, 100% kind of right.
And there's an element of like Mike Judge, a computer science background, right? Like he worked in that sort of office, and whether or not it's so long ago since he did that it's drastically different, he knows enough to get people involved that. But
that's the thing. He's the setting, maybe isn't important unless it is. In which case, if like Office Space resonates with so many people because it gets so much of that setting right,
Yeah.
So if you're going to be specific about the setting, then either know it enough to mine some humor or reason for it to be set there, or do something else.
Yeah, I think that this show is relying on their ability to write relationships between people, and they've tried to set it in this fucking world where the setting matters, but because they're getting so much of the setting wrong, it's annoying me while I'm trying to watch these very well-developed relationships.
Yeah, if you're going to be that specific about the setting, then you do need to get it right, because why set it there otherwise?
Hmm.
You know, like It's Always Sunny doesn't need to be set in a pub because it's just about these lunatics, you know, getting up to stuff. But if you're going to set something in a game development context, then the question is, that's either going to be a background detail and it's about the characters and it's just, they just happen to be there. This is their place of work, but we're going to get all this other, you know, the story and humor is going to be derived from everything else, or you've set it there for a reason. And it seems like they don't know that world well enough for it to resonate, or you know, yeah.
Well, that being said, I have now watched 2 seasons of it, and I have come to like the characters, despite the kind of poorly or mediocrely developed world that they're in. But there are 3 episodes in those 2 seasons that are gold.
I will just check those out and nothing else.
Fair enough.
Do you think our podcast is too long?
You lose.
There you go.